I had a question for you. Last time we spoke, we had a different president in the United States, and now we have a new president. I was about to say who's much more masculine. You might disagree with that, but he's definitely a different type, and he's rolling back, it seems, a lot of some of the anti-masculine things going on. And I'm just kind of curious, do you think that has changed the tone of masculinity, the tone of the country? Do you think there's good things about it, bad things about it? I'm just curious.
Putting me in a tricky spot because I normally don't talk anything about politics.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what I will say.
Yeah.
I do think that we have a real crisis. Like, men are in decline. Statistically, if you look at the research, young boys are in decline, men are in decline. We have less men going to college, less men in the workforce, more men living at home, less men dating. Fewer young men are even sexually active, far fewer than young women, because young women are either sort of going towards sort of like 5% of men, or they're going towards older men. So you can see that men in general are being affected. I don't know if the things that Trump has done are necessarily the things that are going to reinforce masculinity, or actually teach manhood. I think it really is the baseball coaches and the fathers that are at home and the men that are raising the boys in our future. I really do think that it comes down to us. The man sitting in the big office in the White House, I like to think has less impact on my son than I do. And I think that I need to take the responsibility for raising the next generation of men to be men. And I think the narrative has shifted 100%. I think it's just a back and forth. It's like a volley, it's like anti-men and then kind of like very pro-men. And I saw Scott Galloway talking about how like the election was won and lost because of young men. And I think that's true to some degree. I do think that the left really does not know how to talk to young men at all. It's insane. And does not have a place for them there. I think about myself when I was 18 or 19, I was super liberal, and I cannot imagine being 18 or 19 and feeling like I have a home in today's Democratic Party.
Right.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside, I view, is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
And so, I think that the level of ostracization towards young men and just men within our culture is extremely problematic. And I think if anything, what the administration has done is kind of maybe tried to make a statement or a sentiment around, being a man is good and we respect men and we value men. And there's other things that they've done besides that, but I think that's maybe part of the message that they're trying to send. And I do think that that's, largely up to us as men in terms of how we want to work and operate within our society and our families and those types of pieces. But I think it's a tough time, man, to be a young guy. It's hard. Like, I was saying to somebody the other day, like, I get why 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds like Tate. I think if I was 18 or 19-year-olds, I'd probably be watching Andrew Tate as well, because I would feel like, and I think it was maybe Richard Reeves or maybe George from the Tin Men who I was talking to on my show. And they said something along the lines of, in our modern culture, men don't have problems, men are the problem. And I think what's happened is that there's this divide that's happened in the political party where one party has held that frame, men are the problem, and the other party has held the opposing pole. They've said, actually, no, men aren't the problem. And, of course, what am I going to choose? They're going to go to the side that's like, yes, not everything is my fault. And some of us are struggling and have real issues that maybe as a society we should look at and dig into. I don't know if this administration has done maybe what they could to support men and to actually help men. I'm not familiar enough. I'm going to play the Canadian card here and just say, like, I'm not really too, like, 100. I try and keep abreast of it, but I'm not as immersed in it as maybe I should be to really know the policies that are being implemented. But I think I do think that young men are really struggling, and I absolutely think that we really need to support them, and we need to do that sooner than later, because we are turning out a lot of young men who they're just, I get messages from them all the time, man. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I can't tell you, like, every week, sometimes I get messages from men being like, please help me not take my life. And I'm like, man, why should I live in this society? I don't want to live in this world right now. Why it seems like everybody hates me. It seems like everybody hates men. And they're just really struggling. And so I think we need to do a much better job of supporting them. That much I will say.
Yeah, definitely true. Well, I can't talk about politics. I think it's a massive net positive, just because I think we have someone who is unabashedly male, an alpha male who's running that country. And I also think that if you watch him long enough, and Trump has his flaws, and I think his latest spat with Musk is actually not very good alpha male behavior. And it's not what I was taught through all of my men interactions of how to deal with something through a spat on Twitter. I think it's actually not very good male behavior, but that's a separate issue. But overall, I think it's a net positive. I think we see a guy who can be tough, but who can also be compassionate, and who can also be gracious, and who, employs all of these really powerful, strong women in his cabinet. And I just think there's a lot of really great examples there that I think young men are seeing. And I can see why they won that vote. And I think there's a lot of subconscious messages going on there that are like, you can do this. And then, of course, they're trying to roll back a lot of the gender blending stuff too, which I think helps. Now, are they going to take it to the next level and help everybody on a granular level? Yeah, that's yet to be seen. So I'll agree with you on that. And the baseball coaches and the fathers, they have to do the work, but there's a lot of leadership from the top, and there's a lot of setting the tone that I think can come from a place like the White House, even to the whole world. And when I was in Dubai, and I want to tell you about 3 incidents that happened to me in Dubai and get your take on them, but they couldn't even believe that there was a question that we wouldn't have Trump, because they don't really understand how wacky and wild the leftists have taken things. And I'd say that's most countries in the world just don't understand how far America went off that. And so for them, they tend to that more conservative frame point. But maybe that's also Dubai and that culture, which I quite like. So anyways, that's kind of my thoughts and call on that.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith, because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.